We are live. Welcome to the show, everybody. Browns talk. Myles Garrett, of course, the headliner. He wants out of town. What do you think? Well, how have we gotten to this point? What's possible compensation if the Browns do trade him? Is this reconcilable at all? Also, we'll look at some NFL draft prospects, and I guess we have to start focusing on some edge rushers too if Myles gets out of town. Let's get to the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Shabba-lubba hub.
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday. And have we recovered yet from the Myles Garrett bombshell, the written report, the bolded message that he wants out of Cleveland? Have you recovered? I was pretty pissed off. Not at Myles, but at this organization. Make sure you're clicking subscribe, notifications on to the show. We'll have a great Super Bowl program as well, live Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Get us ready for Chiefs and Eagles. Lots of betting options there. And if you're a fantasy football player, how about that professional fantasy football player shirt? You can get that on the Sick Podcast shop. Link on my bio, pinned at X, at AndyMC81. On Twitter, on X, at AndyMC81. You got your fantasy football championship shirt. You can get some Browns and Ohio State gear also. We're going to have Noah Weiskopf come on from the Orange and Brown Report in a moment. I wanted to say this, though, off the top. The Myles Garrett news is just the latest calamity, the latest victim of the Deshaun Watson debacle. And at this point, we can't even blame Deshaun Watson, guys. We can blame him that he stinks, sure. But he is not at blame because he didn't want to come, and then you threw a whole crap load of money at him, and he took it, like any of us would have. I'm not mad at Deshaun Watson. I'm mad at the situation that this ownership group, front office, and whatever slippery combination that we can't quite decipher because their collaboration has put us in. And this is the latest casualty. Let's look at what this Deshaun Watson trade has actually done. One, how about big pictures? Put you in salary cap hell. You're 26 mil plus over the cap right now. If you trade Myles Garrett, that's almost 40 million again of dead cap money that you have to eat if you trade him. So you're screwed there. They needed Myles Garrett to restructure his contract to help them out of this mess. He has now said, no. So the salary cap structure overall, okay? Also, you look like idiots because you did all that, and Deshaun Watson is terrible. But you lost Baker Mayfield, who, like him or not, whether you think he were developed or not, if you didn't screw him over after that injury, he could have kept developing and has been the best quarterback this team's had since 99. Not perfect, but you made him go. Okay. You wasted the prime of Nick Chubb. Who knows if he'll even be back and what he'll be. You wasted the prime years of Myles Garrett's career. 8 years in. 3 playoff appearances, 1 win. Remember, too, folks, this Myles Garrett coming in was the start of the rebuild. This was the rebuild. It was get the number one pick, get the best player, then get the quarterback. You got Myles, you got Baker, we never had the window. We never had the run. We never got to the Super Bowl. We never got past the second round. All of this under the command of Paul DePodesta, that snake oil salesman grifter. How this guy has a job going on a decade. Jimmy Haslam, the owner, needs to tell his fan base, because I got buddies telling me that people they know are canceling season tickets. Is it going to be enough to make an impact? Probably not. But regardless, you owe the fan base, Jimmy Haslam. You owe the fan base to say why you are continuing down this same path. Why? You have guys who, the core of the team came from John Dorsey, right, and others. Paul DePodesta had to be talked out of drafting Mitchell Trubisky for Myles Garrett, by the way. They haven't done all bad things, but you have the same regime that has not had enough success to warrant earning the right to pick another quarterback, to blow it up again. What regime gets a chance to blow it up twice after failing? It's insane. It's insane. The Haslam's owe the fan base an explanation. Owe it to them. It's disgusting. It's absolutely wild. Jump in the chat. Let me know. What do you think of all this nonsense? We got a guy, Grant Gillen, in there. Grant, how are you, buddy? Yeah, it says Haslam has some explaining to do. Also, what changed from the meeting after the season they had with Myles? Great point. And we'll bring this up with Noah in 1 second. Great point, Grant. My thinking was this. Andrew Barry, remember, from Cleveland to Canton, Myles Garrett mocked our GM in the note, saying the plan was never to go to Cleveland and Canton. It was to win championship, win a Super Bowl. So what changed from the end of the year when Myles said, all right, you know what, we're going to see. I'm going to take a step back. I want to hear the plan. Andrew Barry saying, oh, no, Myles, no, we weren't trading for 2 number ones. You can put me on record for that, he said. So what happened at the Pro Bowl, combined with what was the plan told to Myles Garrett? Because as Browns fans, that should terrify us. He was told the plan, obviously did not think that plan was worthwhile to win a championship, combined with probably all-stars whispering in his ear at the Pro Bowl, like, God, you got, come on, get out of there. What are you doing? So that to me says the plan that this regime has sucks. That's what that says to me. If it was great, Myles Garrett probably wouldn't be saying that. Now, it might not be the end of the world. People have come back from trade requests before, but that's where we're at. You can jump in the chat, subscribe, notifications on. You know what? I'm going to eat my feelings tonight, I think, folks, and I'm going to put some stadium mustard on it. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to put it on. If you're making hot dogs, hamburgers tonight, you're making a deli sandwich, maybe do that. Have a pickle on the side, some ham and cheese, pork chops, slap on some stadium mustard. From ballparks to backyards everywhere in between, stadium mustard. There's a smooth but spicy mustard, rich in taste and tradition. Stadium mustard, real and organic, not manufactured. You can get it at Huntington Bank Field. You can get it in Ohio, America, Canada. I'm telling you, you're feeling down. You're going to eat your feelings tonight, Browns fans? Huh? You feeling good? Stadium mustard will at least help that. Let's bring in our guy from the Orange and Brown Report, Noah Weiskopf. Noah! Oh, my friend. This is a punch in the gut Browns fans did not need. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fired up, friend. I'm fired up. I'm not happy. But I wanted to bring you on because when we had you on the show, I find you are a nice level-headed reporter, analyst. You kind of get me back on track a little bit because I get all frazzled and flustered. And I want to talk some NFL draft prospects with you in a few minutes too, because you were at the national championship, right?
I was.
Tell us quickly about that, because that must have been wild. Buckeyes winning. Tell us a little bit about that before we get into the Myles Garrett stuff.
So I'm the lead reporter for the Lantern, the Ohio State paper, on campus. So I oversee our sports department, and I cover the football team full time for them while I'm down here. So, yeah, it was great. We went to every away game all year. They sent us out. Man, there were some incredible experiences there, incredible atmospheres. We got to go to Eugene for that game. We got to go to Penn State for that away game. And then going, to Rose Bowl was almost a dream, right? Like just being out there, seeing that, and then them progressing through allowed us to get a trip down there to Atlanta. Pretty special to be down there on the field with those guys after just to see the emotion that they had after just a crazy season and knowing what they went through, knowing what they put in behind the scenes to see it pay off for them and their emotions was unbelievable. Fantastic.
And you got a bird's eye view all year of some of these Ohio State draft picks coming out into the draft. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. But let's get to this Myles Garrett situation here. And Noah, the thing Browns fans maybe can cling to is that this isn't like the NBA where if a player says it, they're gone. We've seen multiple times Lamar Jackson, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, multiple players say they want to be traded. Even on the Browns, David Njoku, say they want to be traded and it gets walked back and they figure it out. The difference to me in this case, though, is most, if not all of those trade requests was about money, contract extensions. No, it doesn't seem like to Myles this is about money, at least outwardly. It's about winning. And you can't buy that to a guy if that's what Myles Garrett's real motivation is, right?
This is not about money at all. As many of you guys and you probably could have expected, the Browns are willing to pay him and make him the top of the market year in, year out. They know what his worth is. They know that he has the potential to make all of that. They earn every cent of a contract like that. So that was never an issue. You're right. This is all about winning, the state of this franchise, where the franchise is headed. You can't blame the guy, right? Like he wants to win. He's checked off several goals that he's had, right, coming in. He was the defensive player of the year, was a big goal that he had set out for himself that he finally got last year. And
might get it again this year.
He could get it again this year. And it's just like, at this point, the last thing it feels like he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So the last thing at this point seems like a Super Bowl, getting to consistently play for that. He deserves it, and that's what he wants.
Yeah, and it's his right. And for Browns fans, it's infuriating, Noah, because like I said off the top, Myles Garrett was supposed to be the start of the last rebuild.
Yeah.
And we went through 1-31, under which you got the best player available, the edge rusher, you got the quarterback, you got the building blocks, and then along the way, you screwed it all up. And what's most frustrating to me is that the same people, the same decision makers are going to do this again. Like, can you wrap your head around this? That's why I said the Haslams need to address their fan base. How should Browns fans get excited about the same people who have screwed up? They've done some good things, but have screwed up overall, and wanting Myles Garrett himself to leave, who started this whole thing. How can we be confident?
Well, they have the second pick this year. If you're looking for a boast of confidence, I'm not sure I'm the person necessarily to do that.
Damn.
They have the second pick this year. They are looking at life after what was probably one of the worst trades in NFL history, if not in sports history, was the Deshaun Watson trade. I don't think there's really any denying that at this point. But they're moving off of that. They do have some talent on this roster that's young, that is impressive. I mean, you look at, JOK, and you imagine that if they do end up moving on from Myles Garrett, like, he is the type of player that, you could build a defense around. He is that good.
Will he be back though? No, we don't know if he's going to play football again.
Right. If I had a guess right now, I would say he is. But again, I don't want to speculate or guess on anything like that, especially with a severity of that, of a neck injury kind of thing. But yeah, so this Myles Garrett thing, I think, really throws a wrench in everything and sort of puts everything into a perspective where, this organization has to start doing something before, it's too late for them. And you probably are at this point looking at another rebuild when it comes time. If they end up moving a Myles Garrett, what are you competing for? You're not competing for a Super Bowl with the roster they have, regardless. If they pick, a rookie quarterback, say at the second pick, like, you're still not looking at a Super Bowl. This is not a Super Bowl caliber roster.
No. And the thing is, you remove Myles Garrett, it's multi-level ripple effects here, because he has developed over the last couple of years into a locker room leader. Before he was just great, but he's developed into that leadership role. So Noah, if you're Myles Garrett outwardly saying, I don't believe in this team, you take a shot at the GM too on the way out. If you're saying, I don't believe in this, I can't win here, that sends, for one of the best players in the league, that's got to send a ripple effect of negativity right down the roster, as well as this defense, that front collapses right now without Myles Garrett, and it adds another thing you need to add in the draft. You're not going to find in free agency at the cost. Like, it's just another layer to this thing. I think you might be right that you kind of got to go rebuild, because you can't sell to this roster you're still winning when Myles Garrett's talking like this.
Yeah. And it's interesting you bring up the fact that if you have to let go of Myles, then you automatically have to, fill that gap and draft a pass rusher. I think that they were in the market of drafting a pass rusher at number 2 overall, regardless of if you have Myles or not. I think that Abdul Carter is an absolute realistic possibility that they take him at number 2, whether or not Myles is on the roster. I mean, you look at both sides, right? If Myles is gone, you need that bookend guy, and Abdul Carter is a generational talent. If Myles is there and you want to compete for a Super Bowl, you're drafting a guy like that to compete with him and to, take the load off of him, like what Za'Darius did when he was in Cleveland. The other thing, you talk about ripple effects. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up moving for Myles. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see a guy like Joel Bitonio hang up the cleats. That's the ripple effect that I see is when Myles is is traded, if he is traded. I see Joe Bitonio potentially, hanging up the cleats, not playing again, at least in a Browns uniform. And some other guys on that roster might, just either want out or not elect to resign or not elect to sign with the Browns in the first place. So if they end up moving on from him, and this is not a done deal, I'm sure we'll get into this, but it is not a done deal that since he requested this, that they will trade him. We know how the NFL works. It's not like the NBA, like you mentioned. So this is going to be a probably lengthy process.
That you have to, I would think, Noah, get solved before the draft. Because if you're going to trade Myles Garrett, you want it to be before this draft so you can start collecting more assets now. The talk is you cannot get rid of him for less than 2 ones. You just can't. They made I saw the comp of Khalil Mack a couple years ago or whenever it was. I think it was 2 ones and then they swapped 2s and 3s and stuff like that. That's got to be the comp here. You cannot be trading Myles Garrett for like 1 1 and a 3. You just can't.
I've saw some people talk about 3 1s. I would be pretty surprised at 3 1s. I don't think that's realistic. You also have to consider whether or not the Browns are going to want more 1s this year, or should they prefer a 1 in a draft where you're probably at that rate moving Myles Garrett and looking at a season where you're going to try to get a quarterback, whether that's this year or if they elect not to, would you rather a quarterback in next year's draft, right? So you have to also consider that as a possibility of whether or not they want the 2nd pick this year plus another top 10 pick when it looks like a lot of the talent in this draft in the pool is like around the 2nd, 3rd round where you can really, really get good players in that range.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you need all of it because let's look. You literally at every position group need something of significance from defense. Safeties, you need 2. Cornerback could always use another one, not as dire, but you could always use another one. Linebacker, who knows what's happening with JOK, and these old 1-year vets that Barry brings in always get injured. You need something there. Defensive line, well, we just talked about that. Oh, yeah, plus you need a star defensive tackle. Maybe a Mason Graham would look good there as well. Who knows? Offensive side, if your Bitonio situation comes through, you might need somebody there. You need a running back. Could always use a wide receiver. And, oh, yeah, that quarterback thing, depending on what happens in free agency. That's really, I think, the first building block for the Browns here, Noah, is what do they do at that free agent spot? That should guide us to a quarterback plan, right? If you get a Kirk Cousins, if he's released, an older player, an Andy Dalton, a Cooper Rush, perhaps, Joe Flacco, that's sort of a solidifying force and hopefully guides us to like, okay, you'll get a Stefanski type quarterback. If they go get a Justin Fields, like, no, I don't know. Maybe I'll start watching in 2027 again. I don't know. 2026, whatever.
Yeah, you're right. I think free agency is going to be telling. Obviously whether or not they go after quarterback is to be seen, but I do know that obviously quarterback is one of the biggest needs, that they understand that, and they are going to be looking at those free agents, and they're also doing a lot of work on the quarterbacks in this draft. So we'll see. We just have to wait and see. Is
there anybody you like? Because we looked at the free agents quarterback on Sunday's show. It gets bleak quickly. So like the thing is they have to add a veteran quarterback. You're not going in with just DTR and Watson probably won't play for the year. So you have to add somebody. Is there anybody? And also we got to do it on the cheap because of that Watson contract. So even if you fancied yourself Sam Darnold, he's probably commanded too much money. Does anybody add that free agent group? I sort of like Cooper Rush a little bit as kind of that in-between guy, like Jacoby Brissett. Like, is there anyone that you like?
It doesn't matter. Truthfully, it doesn't matter what I like. I think that they will look at Jacoby Brissett. I think they will look at Jameis Winston again. I think that they will explore that Kirk Cousins thing if that becomes available. I think that I think that makes a lot of sense. Right. And I think that the Sam Darnold thing seems pretty unrealistic given what he's going to get on the open market. But I do really think that they like quarterbacks in this draft. I think that they've done a lot of homework on them. I think that is absolutely, and I don't need to be telling people this, that's absolutely in play at number 2. I think that Shedeur, if I had to guess, Shedeur would be ahead of Cam Ward for them. But we'll have to just wait and see. But yeah, I do think that quarterback, I think the thing that makes the most sense to me as of now is bridge quarterbacks, sort of like a guy who's going to compete with a rookie for a starting job and then take a rookie in the draft.
Yeah, who can hopefully, again, perfect scenario would be a Kirk Cousins type, somebody that, if healthy, again, if the medicals check out, or Joe Flacco, and Andy Dalton, Cooper Rush, who can take you through like they did in New England for a stretch, not rushing these rookies in, right? That's key. And the other thing we got to think of, I prefer Cam Ward over Shedeur Sanders personally right now. I'm a big Will Howard guy. We'll talk to you about that in a second. I friggin' love Will Howard. But for Shedeur Sanders, the Dion factor with Myles Garrett leaving, like if Andrew Berry's thinking of drafting Shedeur, I hope he's having a call now with Dion, because I could see that getting ugly real quick and maybe a Manning situation where they're like, no, he's not going to that.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, right? Like we're seeing they're the ultimate duo, the two of them. So I know we saw on Twitter he tweeted something with the Browns protests or whatever it was. I saw Shedeur and then
Shedeur
Dion. Yeah, something like that. I don't remember exactly. Was it Dion? Maybe it was just Dion. One of the two of them. Yeah, something. But I also wouldn't rule out the fact that, there are the Jackson Darts of the world. There are the Jalen Milrows. And I think all of those are in play. I don't think there's one quarterback in this draft that's not in play to be drafted by Cleveland. Now, I don't think that Milrow is going to be picked at number 2. I don't think Dart will be picked at number 2. But, there is a chance that they get those guys in the second round or trade into the end of the first or whatever it might be to get a rookie. But I do think that they come out of that draft with a quarterback.
In conversation with Noah Weiskopf of the Orange and Brown Report, also covers the Buckeyes. In the chat, we have Underground Gaming saying, time for a fire sale. You aren't going to attract free agents and you can't compete with no QB. Just burn it down, collect draft picks, and plan for the future when DW's contract is gone, which is going to be haunting us for the next 2-3 years because of the dead cap money. I would ask Underground Gaming, what do you trust this current regime, and anybody in the chat, do you trust this current regime to pick successfully these draft picks? And I think, Noah, that's the big question for Browns fans, because we can have all these picks. Remember, the Browns collected all these picks under Sashi Brown, all before. The main core of this team, outside of a couple exceptions, were John Dorsey guys. And so do you feel like with Andrew Berry that this is the regime with their some hits, some successes, and a lot of misses, that Browns fans should feel confident in then picking these draft picks, these important picks?
Well, I mean, there's no hiding the fact that Andrew Berry has drafted some of these players on this roster that haven't panned out.
Mm-hmm.
You can't ignore that, right? Jedrick Wills is the first one that comes to mind. And I think another big thing is those third-ish round picks, 3rd to 4th round picks that often get overlooked. But if you're drafting somebody in the 3rd round, they should most of the time be an impact player for you. They should be playing. They should be making an impact on the end result of games. And a lot of the thirds that Andrew Berry has picked haven't worked out. There's no hiding it. You mentioned, the wide receivers first, right? Like Anthony Schwartz, David Bell.
Oh.
You mentioned some of the interior guys like Siaki Ika, Perrion Winfrey was that. Yeah. So some of those guys in that range, you have to hit on guys. And they haven't done that. They haven't done a great job of doing that.
No. And in fairness too, try to be fair. Martin Emerson, rough year, but I still think there's a lot of plus. That's a was he 3rd round?
Yes.
I forget. He was 3rd round. Yeah. So that's a great pick. DeJuan Jones, when healthy, my goodness, you can get a left tackle in the 5th round. Some good things as well, but I'm just not confident that he is the guy to do it. We're going to have to see, because these are the people who are going to be making the picks. Grant in the chat says, hell no, he doesn't trust this group to do it. I don't think we got a choice. I want to hit on your time covering the Buckeyes, because this, as we know, Noah, oh my, the plethora of weapons of draft goodness that's going to be coming out of here. The fact that Jeremiah Smith at 19 years old might have been the 1st overall pick in this draft. He's that damn good. I want to ask you about this. My guy, I don't know if you've seen the Draft Day movie, Kevin Costner, where they write on the sticky note, right? My sticky note says Will Howard no matter what. Noah, I'm telling you, you've covered this guy, so I want to get your thoughts on it. But to me, this guy has some Josh Allen in him. This guy proved over the playoffs leadership, passion, big game moments. Is he perfect? None of these QBs are. He needs to sit a bit as well. But this guy's made some NFL caliber placement throws. He's got the arm. He can run through you. And the improvement after that Michigan game, I don't think can be overlooked. I want Will Howard desperately, ideally in the 3rd round, but hell, I'd take him at 2 if he's their guy.
Well, let me start by saying,
I'm saying not 2 overall, 2nd round, not 2 overall.
Yeah. What I don't know where exactly he's going to be picked at, but what a great dude. What a great person. From my time getting to know him, just a genuine guy. Always had a smile on his face. But in terms of going through into this draft, I think the one concern from talking to folks is the fact that Ohio State's weapons, you're never going to be able to replicate that. Never replicate what he was built around. And so I do know that, that is something that teams are looking in is, do you think that this is a guy that's going to be able to elevate an offense, or can he sustain an offense? And I think that's a big difference, especially playing in college at Ohio State with what they had versus, going into the NFL. And he's probably not looking at being a day one starter. So can you develop him? And you have to have the right support system around the right coaching staff to develop a guy like that. So yeah, I think he's an intriguing prospect. Again, the Browns are going to look at everyone in this draft, but I think just overall, Will has a chance to have a really productive NFL career with whatever team he lands on. Just he has to be the right system, the right support staff, the right coaching staff. That's just what it has to be.
And we see that all across, right? If you take Josh Allen and he goes to almost any other team in that 2018 draft, he might not even be in the league. He might be a backup. Who knows? Landed in the right spot. The placement, the spot is so key. And I think with Will Howard, if you get, let's for fun, Kirk Cousins, one of the guys, Joe Flacco, whoever, that can take you a year or most of the year. And Will Howard, now let me ask you, he seems like a studious, dialed in, studier, focused guy. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, good. We want to hear this. He's not a party guy. He's focused in. I think you have that with his passion, with his growth and raw talent. You can build this guy. You just got to have the focus on it. You got the Browns added veteran QB coach Musgrave, elevated him. I think this would be a great spot for him. The combine, we'll sort of get an idea where his draft stock goes. Is it up? Ideally, third round. I would take him all day and sign a vet. I think that would be so good for the Browns. Do you have a favorite that you want Cleveland to take out of this class? You mentioned a few of the names. If they said, no, Andrew Berry's got caught in traffic, second overall pick, are you taking a QB? And if so, who?
To be honest with you, I think that I would look at, what they should do, I think that they should take a quarterback if they feel comfortable enough with one of those two guys. What I don't think they should do is convince themselves that one of these quarterbacks is the right guy just because they're in this situation.
Yeah, agreed.
You cannot look past the generational talent that's at the top of that board. You have to be able to know that at number 2, you're able to get one of the two of Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, both of which are generational talents. They're going to have incredible NFL careers. Now, wherever you want to do with Travis Hunter, that's up to you. He can play receiver and he can be a dominant one in the NFL. He can play cornerback. He can be a dominant one in the NFL. He can be a cornerback primarily and play a little receiver, and he'd be good at that. Both of the two of them are incredible players, and I would consider taking either of them at number 2 if you don't want to trade down and don't want to take a quarterback.
Right. Absolutely. And the trade down possibility, and this is why this Myles Garrett possible trade is even more interesting, because the initial idea was, okay, you trade down, get a little more capital this year, next year, depending where you go. Is it to just swap with the Giants? Is it going down to 6? Can you get a 1 next year? Whatever. But you had this Myles Garrett deal in, depending what that looks like. And maybe the Browns do. And I'm totally with you. If you're not in love with one of the top 2 quarterbacks, don't take them. And add that vet and move down. And like you said, one of those 2 talents, maybe I really like Mason Graham, but this is a nice defensive tackle class. You can get a great one at 33 as well, I think. So yeah, it's a really deep class in some areas.
Yeah, they don't have to take a quarterback at 2 either. They can take one of those 2 guys and then take a quarterback in the second round. Absolutely.
Yep, a development guy. One more for you. We talked about the quarterback, Will Howard. Both of these national champion running backs are coming out for Ohio State. Super exciting. This is a nice-looking running back class. Do you have a preference, NFL-ready scheme? Let's say for the Browns are going to likely have to add somebody, even if you bring Nick Chubb back, to start as a committee who can take over for number 1. Out of the 2 Ohio State running backs, do you have a preference? Who's better NFL? You like both? Where do you think they're going?
I do like both. And I do think that this is the draft, if you want to take a running back, that you do so. It's a really, really deep running back class. And I think that Travion Henderson is the guy that's sort of rising up boards a little bit faster than a Quinshon Judkins. I do think Judkins has the more prototypical NFL back type physicality, just being able to run the ball. But Travion, man, everyone saw his breakaway speed and like what he can do when he hits open field. He's an incredible talent. He has incredible speed. I think everyone saw that on that screen pass. And I will say, one criticism I had for Travion before the season started was his vision. I thought his vision could use a lot of work. I thought there were plays where he should have been able to find a hole that he didn't. And I knew that once he started to find those holes, that he would be able to absolutely take off. And throughout the season, he found those holes and his vision improved a ton. And I think that for that reason and his breakaway speed, I think that he'll be rising up draft boards pretty quick. And I would not be stunned if he snuck into the end of the first round.
Really?
I've heard that a little bit, that he has been rising up pretty quick and could sneak in to the end of the first. But I do think that like second round would make a lot of sense for Travion. I think Quinshawn would probably be a little bit after that.
Could be late second into the third. Yeah. And we've seen the rise of running back popularity this year. I think we're going to NFL cyclical. We're going to see in trends and trades and drafts, because look what Saquon Barkley's done. Look at Derrick Henry. Now they're starting to come back into vogue. Whereas for years, sometimes you don't have a running back going the first because they downplay it. Well, now running backs are coming back in vogue. So this could be interesting. Giante's another one there. I don't know, Ollie Gordon, the second out of Oklahoma State Cowboy. I freaking love that guy. Brown's if you can get him in the fourth end of the third, if you don't get one of the Buckeyes, that guy's getting compared to Kareem Hunt, original Kareem Hunt. Yeah. So there's so many possibilities here.
And the running back from Iowa, I think, is really, really talented too. I think Caleb Johnson, he's a hell of a player. Ohio State saw him at the shoe earlier in the year, but yeah, hell of a player as well. It's a deep running back class.
Yeah, interesting. Boy, Noah, this has been great, man. We'll see what the heck happens with this Myles Garrett situation and go from there. But always love having you on. Thanks for jumping in, and we'll talk to you either before or just after the draft to break things down.
Sounds good. Have a good one, Andy.
All right. Thanks, brother. There he goes. Noah Weiskopf from the Orange and Brown Report. In the chat, Underground Gaming saying the Browns made the worst deal in sports history. No recovering from that. You need to change ownership, front office, everything. Underground Gaming, I'm with you, man. This isn't just the worst NFL trade. It's the worst sports trade. Find me another trade in professional sports, North America. I don't know what the hell soccer does in Europe, but North American sports that is worse and has had, not just at the time, but as have had the effects, the ramifications continue. Salary cap destroyed. A reputation for the team. Fans having to feel ashamed to cheer their quarterback because of what he did. The fact that ownership signed off on this, having to know that Deshaun Watson had to disclose all the possible discrepancies. Take me through the mindset of somebody who says, hey, yeah, you want to trade for me, but I got 25 to 30 legal issues of deviance that might come to light. Just saying. And you sign off on that. Mind-boggling. Just mind-boggling. And then on top of that, like I've said before on the show, usually in the movies, when people sell their souls to the devil, good stuff happens first. Guy wants to be rich and sells his soul to the devil and he gets all the money and then learns the lesson, money isn't everything and whatever. The Browns didn't sell their soul right. They got that wrong too. Paul DePodesta is a perennial loser. He builds losers. He's good at losing. That's what he does. Oakland A's lost. Gets a movie out of it. Jonah Hill, fine actor. Loser. It's a loser mentality built by smug, smart, think they're more clever than everybody else, losers. And you're continuing that on. And to Underground Gaming's point, everybody but the ownership, I'd kick out. Because the ownership, you know another multi-billionaire hanging around? I don't. And outside of the football side, the Haslam's have done amazing things for the community. But they are horrible at football. Terrible. Imagine running your business if they ran that pilot flying J like they did here. Hey, we have the same guy in charge, and we've taken losses for a decade in our business. He'd be homeless. That's what he's doing on the football side. That's what's so infuriating. It doesn't make any sense. Yet it keeps going. And the Deshaun Watson, we went over it. Everything goes away. Garrett, all the years. The first rebuild is now going into a second rebuild with the same people. That wouldn't happen in any other franchise, in any other sport, in any type of business. Yet Jimmy Haslam and the Browns do it. I don't know why. And I'll tell you, I've said before on the show, I will freak out if they pick Milroe. That guy freaking sucks. He stinks. I'm sorry. If anybody watched that Senior Bowl, good God. If this guy is taken by any team over the 4th round, you're insane. And I wouldn't take him at all in any round. He cannot throw, and he's not that fast. He got caught twice at the Senior Bowl. Tripped up, ran for a 4th down, got caught. This guy is a thicker, slightly faster Malik Willis. The drizzling poops. Do not want him. I can find Ollie Gordon, who I just mentioned, threw a better ball for a touchdown than Jalen Milroe. And he's a running back. No. Jackson Dart seems very average to me. I wouldn't be infuriated if they took him, but that guy just, I'm smelling career backup. Riley Leonard of Notre Dame, just go be Taysom Hill, bro. You're Taysom Hill. You have a good life being Taysom Hill. Throw a little bit, run a little bit, catch a little bit. It's nice. Do a little bit of everything. Riley Leonard isn't your answer. Kyle McCord, get Ohio State Tassa? No. I don't care what year he had at Syracuse. Backup. All I see from most of these guys is career backup. I see huge upside in Will Howard in the right landing spot, hopefully Cleveland. And I think Cam Ward, I'm comparing Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders this to the Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota draft. You might have him go 1-2, but the first 2 QBs off the board, where they could be good, and you can't call either a bust because they did have some success. Not the success that their draft pick would have liked, but they did have some success. And I kind of see that for these guys. They can be good, maybe right situation, great. But I'm just not super excited about it. But you need someone. That's why I think you take a Will Howard and develop him and get the veteran in the first place to go. Noah was saying he had all the talent at Ohio State, and my goodness, he did. But I don't know. Jerry Jeudy looked pretty damn good when he had a QB that could get him the ball. Think Will Howard to Jerry Jeudy would look nice? How about Cedric Tillman? Healthy. Yep. Give me another guy off. How about the David Njoku? That'd be fun. We got some talent, folks. It's just, do you have the right people to put it together? And can these fools get through their thick Ivy League minds to not go after the mobile-only quarterback like a Jalen Milroe? They were ahead of the curve by accident with Joe Flacco when they were running the ball. Only hope. Full revert back to Stefanski offense. Get that running back in there. Go to the play action. And now you got a whole lot of problems on defense. Good luck, Jim Schwartz. We'll see how good of a coach you are. Because there's a lot of Myles Garrett hit a lot of flaws. It's rough. It's rough. Grant says, can't wait to see the wide receiver class from OSU, class of 27. Oh, Ohio State, they just keep pumping out studs. There's so many. They got offensive line, tackle, defensive side. Sensational. Boy. Oh, there you go, folks. All right. Thank you so much to Noah for coming in. Also, Super Bowl's coming up. So make sure you are getting in on the action at the DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns key to winning in the playoffs, of course. And you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, make your pick. Maybe Travis Kelce, right? Little prop, little Taylor Swift cheering for you. Who knows? Make your pick, make your player. Lots of fun. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly using the code 6sports. So you go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, download it, use code 6sports. You bet $5, you get $200 in bonus bets. Great timing for the Super Bowl, right? Do that. Have some fun. Get the bonus bets in. Use code 6sports only on the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
All right, there you go, folks. We'll be back Sunday live, 10 a.m. Eastern, Super Bowl special. We'll have bets and talks and any Browns updates with this Myles Garrett situation or anything else. Thank you so much to my guest, Noah Weiskopf from the Orange and Brown Report, to producer Shane, and all of you. We'll get through it like we always do, Browns fans. Myles Garrett or not, we'll figure it out. We'll see you Sunday. As always, go Browns.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.